Chaeiry's released an hour and 40-minute long hit piece on notsoErudite. Apparently, it's the first in a trilogy. So this is the Lord of the Rings of Destiny whore drama. Okay, guys. So we are absolutely Chaeiry's changing the fucking game here. I'll be real. This is the most based shit I've ever seen. Chaeiry is an absolute BPD queen pulling this off. So let's get into it. Let's see what we think. We're gonna 1.5 it. There's a lot of long clips. I hear it's Will and his channel-esque. Probably could have done with editing it down a bit, but we'll get into it.
Because I feel like Steven is like a really, really good person. Like a lot of people think that the only reason I'm friends with him is because like the personal benefits I have, and that's actually in part why I never go on his stream, because I'm worried that he and others will be like the only reason I'm friends with him is because of breaking game. But I just think he's like deeply.
We got eyes on the timestamps. Yeah, so the chapters here: intro, Brittany Simon versus Lav, notsoErudite versus Lav, inauthenticity, hypocrisy, moral engagement, honest hypocrite, notsoErudite, not so expert on addiction, not so logical, wrong and smug, not so professional, Mr. Galazamira, not so neurotypical, blah blah blee blah, and not so done.
Person, even though he's a very flawed person as well. And he's a much better person than he gives himself credit for. And it makes me sad because he'll just like take other people talking like pretty horribly about him, and he's like, I mean, yeah, I have lots of flaws, and he'll just like own it. And I'm like, bro, if you were literally anybody else who's more shitty than you would be like demanding that people like your side. I don't know. I just maybe I'm obviously different, but I think you're gonna advocate for even how wonderful of a person he is. Like, I mostly, when I say good, I don't mean like, no flaws. I don't mean perfect. I mean, there's lots of flaws, but there's like a striving and an intentionality to try to.
So that was a great time to remind you guys. Please like, subscribe, donate, buy a membership, gift a membership, buy a super chat if you can. Thank you very much.
See like improvement there. And maybe he hasn't always been that way, but since I've been directing, I see like this intentionality to try to take responsibility and like to try to self-improve. And like, goddamn, there's not a lot of people that are trying as hard as Steven is. And I just really appreciate that about him and other people.
Yeah, I think it's just, I'd struggle because good is fake. If you're gonna ask me like this Steven Kine, I would just get it always he is.
Too fast? Dude, listen, this is just clips from the other day. There's nothing
I
interesting.
guess I'm like, define like what examples of that look like as someone who behaves like that. But I think yeah, just and it's not you. It's like everyone does this, right? When I say this is a good person, this is a bad person. Me over here with my autism brain is like, I don't know what this is.
It's just Erudite going, wow, Destiny's just too nice of a person.
I don't know what is a good person. I'm confused.
That's all the
He's
gist
very
is
nice.
here.
He's an
Okay.
asshole. There's lots of flaws, but I do think he's good. In a deep, well-rounded way.
I was watching JStock's YouTube channel when Lav, short for Lavloon, who used to go by Femoid, now goes by Impish, was laughing at notsoErudite defending Destiny's good character.
When he's like blind to his own flaws, I think he's really blind to it. I think what's unique about him as well is that like he's pretty open to hearing his flaws. He just needs to like hear it in the right way, which to be honest feels deeply, deeply human.
You have to coddle him. You have to be really nice to him, guys.
As like just the victim in the situation, because
his problem is that he's too accountable, right, Kyle? Like he's so charitable. He's too accountable.
Wait, look, so I sound like a panel with you later, but you are on my shit list too because you make false accusations against people. So like, I'm not very excited about dealing with you either, miss. Like, I do not make false accusations and I do not lie, right? Like, that is the one thing I will not do. I've never.
There was a smear campaign against you. There was a smear campaign against you, just as there was one against me.
Okay,
if that was actually
you literally did. So I'm judging you on your actions.
If I was a false allegator, I would not be in this fucking space.
I'm not judging you on a smear campaign. I'm judging you on your own actions, just like I'm not judging anyone else on any smear campaign.
Okay, I'm not even. This isn't about me. I'd love for this to be about me, but it's not about me.
Brittany Simon jumping in to shit on Lav feels kind of personal to me. Because Lav is one of the few people who join the conversation to be critical of Destiny, which Brittany says is what she wants people.
Yeah, you just have to criticize him in a way that aligns with his view of himself. Exactly.
People to do. And despite being met with hostility, Lav goes on, or later on in the conversation, to extend an olive branch to Brittany again.
Because Brittany said that she had to go. Last thing, Brittany, I don't know if you've been reading Just Lick's chat, but I just really quickly, I'm going to make it about me, so I'm so sorry. But literally every 5 comments is like, Brittany's lying, all she does is lie, all Brittany does is lie. And that's what his community has been doing to me, and my narrative has been completely taken from me. So I understand that you have beef with me because of what you think that has happened.
Please stop.
If you would like to have
No, I do not judge people off what other people say. I judge you based off what you do and say. Don't pull this on me, girl. Come on. I'm too old. No.
This is fucking insane.
Okay, hold on. Here, according to the theory of positive disintegration, developed in the 1960s by Polish psychologist and psychiatrist Kazimierz Dabrowski, Brittany's response is a classic level 1 behavior. Of Dabrowski's 5 levels of human development, the first is the most basic primitive level, driven by the satisfaction or basic needs and desires as an individual's only concern, often disregarding empathy, sympathy, or any acknowledgement of the needs and concerns of others. A bit of introspection could help with that, but that's for another video. What inspired this video was later on in that same call seeing notsoErudite struggle in an argument with Lav and resort to using Lav's sexual assault as an attack against her.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised that this is like the first time that you've like lied. I mean, I have screenshots.
I've really never
screenshots. I have screenshots of you claiming that the girl who slept with Hassan had to sign an NDA.
I've never seen you be this immature before.
Isn't it? Like
it's not really that obfuscating. Well, the issue is like, is she going to lie? Is it possible that
this is something that I said about Kyla in her debate with fascist.
Is it possible? If you have a pattern of behavior of lying, if you have a pattern of behavior of lying about things like contracts, about lying about things like SA, the reality is like, I'm willing to believe that you also lied about like some level of contract.
One, I've never lied about sexual assault. Hold on, sorry. I really can't get past this. I'm really sorry, Nick. I'm gonna let you finish. Love you, boo. But I really just gotta hit one thing really quick. Is that another thing? Is that Kyla, when you come up here and then you virtue signal to Destiny's audience that already are fucking losing favor with you because you're boring and annoying, to virtue signal.
Oh, I'm retarded. Nice one. Nice one. I'm muted. I'm majorly retarded. Nice one. Yeah, I was just saying. That all I care about is Destiny's whores arguing. I don't care about him reading Wikipedia for 8 hours. I'm gonna let you finish. He's not muted, just seething. Yeah. I'm just silently raging.
Like, you lie about sexual assault when you don't know the story, you don't know me, and you only see like a propagandized version of information spread at me. That's fucking disgusting. And you want to talk about being like a pick me and being a feminist? Don't you call yourself a feminist and you're saying that I'm lying about a sexual assault that I've been very, very open with, the fact that I have very mixed feelings about, and the fact that I don't really know how to respond to it or what if it is sexual assault or if I would call it that. I think that is very disingenuous and very disgusting, frankly.
It feels like the fight should end there, but you know, notsoErudite does not accept that she's wrong. Even at the thought that she might be wrong, we have to really wait over and consider that she could be right. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating to see people do this. And I understand most people who are in the middle of a debate, they're very slow to consider the idea that they are incorrect, which is why Erudite and her husband Nick later on interrogate Lav on her inconsistency in describing her sexual assault, just so that they can prove that she's a liar.
How do you know that I lied about my sexual assault? I mean, all you guys do.
Didn't say that you lied about your sexual assault. I said you've gone back and forth about your sexual assault.
No, you said that I lied about my sexual assault literally in this call.
Okay, the situation about like pushing towards your, you said that it was SA, now it isn't, then it was, you went back and forth about that situation, then you, yes.
I don't think that you
then you said that I was going around siding with people who were dismissing your SA, but
Chaeiry, I don't know what's even going on in this video.
You were dismissing it, but also
it's kind of a miss right now.
Even though you were dismissing it and it was, but it wasn't an SA, you've gone back and forth about literally everything constantly all I've explicitly come out and said that how ABBA engaged with it was bad.
Like, so it's not a lie, is what I'm saying. You said that you counted that as a lie. It's not. And then another thing is that me talking about
back and forth, and you say that I'm siding with people who are denying your SA.
I have not said that. Since Nick has talked to me about that, I have not said that because it's been cleared up. So that's not a lie. I just simply think I see it differently now.
You lied, and then it got cleared up, which is
great. It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
I have 3 different mutual friends DM me talking to me about my character because you had told them that I was going around denying your SA, which never happened. Literally ever.
Wait,
but I cleared up the situation. Yeah, but then when we cleared up the situation, did you go to those people and be like,
you did not clear up with me. You did not clear up. Nick did. A month after, 2 months after. About my character.
Just because you get in your feelings and you don't give a fucking second to consider whether or not this would map onto my character doesn't mean you're not lying in the situation. If you think only lying is when you intentionally tell a fib, then you're retarded about what lies are. You can lie by not understanding or giving bad faith.
I've heard you call it assault, and I've heard you call it absolutely not a but rather a weird situation that happened that you thought was funny. And I feel like I've maybe heard you call it a
Wait. Is she playing League in the background? Is that what's going on there?
And you don't give a fucking second to consider whether or not this would map onto my character doesn't mean you're not lying in the situation. If you think only lying is when you intentionally tell a fib, then you're retarded about what lies are. You can lie by not understanding.
Or is it just?
I've heard you call it assault, and I've heard you call it absolutely not a but rather a weird.
Oh no, she's using the ping as the sensor. She's using the League ping noise as the sensor noise. Okay, I'm with you.
And that you thought was funny, and I feel like I've maybe heard you call it before, but I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But also, I don't know.
That threw me off for a second.
It's like digital. It's coercive. It's anything without consent. So I don't know. I don't know if I even want to define it. It was something that happened to me that made me uncomfortable. That I look back on, realized.
So is there a difference between calling a thing assault when a person is physically holding you and making you do an act that you don't want, and you call it assault? Is that different in any meaningful way?
Yeah, assault's not.
I don't know.
And so would it possibly not be if someone is holding you down and making you do an act that you don't want, but you will call it assault? Is there any way that is not also
boring till after the JP part? Okay.
You'd say that it wasn't but it was assault. Is that correct?
I don't know what it was.
Or let her cook.
Real gun dagger.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
I think like forcing someone to sit on you is also considered.
I mean, I would definitely consider
I don't know how to decide.
If you're having a sexual interaction with someone and they grab your head and force your mouth into their while they're saying like no, don't.
Do we have to like go over this like detail?
Yeah, that doesn't seem fun.
I mean, you called that situation assault, and then when asked about the situation and whether it was assault, you've like kind of been like, no, of course not. It was just some crazy, silly, weird thing. I didn't call it. I would never call it right. So it's like, but then you also talk about how it was really horrible and called it. And what I'm trying to say is, I don't know what the difference between assault with someone doing all of those things that we just talked about. I don't know how that's not. What you said the other day was, come on, that was not shit. That was not. I've never called it a right.
Yeah, I don't think I would not call it a rape. But if there are people watching this that something like that has happened to them and they call it a rape, then who am I to say that it wasn't for them?
Yeah. It's kind of like Schrodinger's lie, because what you think is the truth or how you want to describe it changes conversation to conversation, and that would be fine. That would be fine on its own. I think the issue is that you then use those underlying facts, which change depending on how you're feeling about it at the time, to justify other.
This is way too much context. There is absolutely no point that you're going to make here that is not that is worth all this context. Okay.
Why Kyla is so bad for associating with this person, and why you're justified in hating her now.
I don't really care. It's the behavior itself that I have an issue with it.
It definitely was sexual assault.
Then why, like yesterday when you were talking to Jessica or whatever, you said that it literally wasn't?
Well, she literally wasn't. She said literally what she said.
Yeah, I didn't say
it wasn't. And she laughed at the idea that it was.
Yeah, because you think that essay is not serious and is serious. I don't know.
Here's the issue. It's like, if depending on who you're talking to about the
the ping sound is driving me fucking wild.
I would never call it this. This was just a weird situation. But then in another conversation with another person, when you're able to use it,
I always call it assault.
That's why you call it a weird situation.
Yes, but sometimes that is just how you say sexual assault. If you were in a room of men who, what do you mean? First of all, it is
why
very
you feel like I'm denying it. You're suddenly saying I'm an SA but when it's a room of men, now it's just a weird situation.
Yeah, so a chatter was like, is this situation that Lav was talking about her Substack post about? The chatter said, is this the salad tossing situation, whatever? And then Lav goes, no, not that situation. I would never call that. That was just like a weird distraction I have that I joke about sometimes because I think it's funny. That's the context of that piece, right?
Minus 153 from yesterday's stream.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but so if you change the facts of a circumstance, that
there's no facts. There were no facts changing.
Yeah, the fact is the severity of the interaction.
Jesus Christ, get to the fucking point. Holy. Okay, right.
When she used it as an attack in a very.
Okay.
They realized how off this was because other people on the call were bringing it up. notsoErudite then blamed Lav for her essay even being a topic that they're discussing now, which is just wrong. notsoErudite's the one who brought it up when she used it as an attack in a very antagonistic and offensive way.
If you have a pattern of behavior of lying, if you have a pattern of behavior of lying about things like
okay,
contracts,
so notsoErudite brought it up. Got you.
Lying about things like essay, the reality is like, I'm willing to believe that you also lied about like,
I'm with you.
Everything about this interaction bothered me. It's not the content creator or the person notsoErudite presents herself to be. I know these are concepts that notsoErudite understands. The fact that victims are insecure and sometimes inconsistent at describing or even labeling their trauma or essay. Seeing her spend the first half of the stream being able to defend Destiny despite his public narrative and his self-abandonment, but not be able to extend those same understandings to an SA victim just because it's Lav feels really incompassionate and really dishonest to me.
Yeah, Erudite was just going after Lav because she's marked by Destiny. Yes, agreed.
I know that Erudite has been really open about having an issue with her public perception and people not liking her. She thinks it's because she's a woman and that
it's not.
Essentially, sexism is the reason why people don't
because she's a cunt.
Like disagreeableness coming from her. And I had to sit on this. I had to think about this. Because like I do hate women. But this isn't sexism or misogyny.
Chaeiry won.
Making me feel off about Kyla.
True.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's literally her actions.
It's because she's a horrible cunt.
It's the things that she says. Something about notsoErudite is just not so authentic.
Spitting.
Which of your thoughts and things that you say are you? And maybe so you can...
BPD woman realizes there is nobody authentic in Twitch but one person at a time.
Not utilize the rest, or maybe so that you can correct the rest, because they're not representative of yourself as an integrated being. They don't take everything into account. My sense has been that you can tell when you're saying something that's not authentic by feeling out whether or not it makes you weak or strong. Now, you know, sometimes when you're conversing with people, you can say something that embarrasses yourself. Now, Nietzsche said, for example, everyone has perjured themselves at least once in the attempt to maintain their good name. Something like that. It's not an exact quote, but I've got the gist of it right. So maybe you're saying things to impress someone, or you're saying things to remain part of your political group or your social group or whatever, or maybe you have attributes, personal attributes, that might be positive, that you're ashamed of, and so you're not going to speak about them. So there's a falseness about your self-representation. Watch for 2 weeks and see. Make a rule that if you start to say something and it makes you feel weak, it's hard to describe exactly what that means. To me, what it means is that I can feel things coming apart, sort of in my
Jordan Peterson was so based.
Phenomena. And the subjective sense is of falsehood. It's like I've just stepped off the solid ground and onto something that doesn't support me well, and it feels like a self-betrayal. So that's existential inauthenticity. You can feel it right away. And then the rule is, shut up if that happens. Stop talking. And then feel around and see if you can find some words that you can say in that situation that don't produce that sensation. And it's like, you see this played out in different forms of drama. So it's not all that obvious why a cliche is a bad thing, but a cliche is a bad thing in the same way that being possessed by the dead is a bad thing. It's like a cliche isn't you. It's something else. It's like the crowd. It's like the other. It's not living. It has nothing to do with you. And part of the reason that students use cliches is because it's easier than using your own genuine creative formulation. So you can just default to cliche use, but there's something more insidious than that, is that if you write an essay that's nothing but a string of cliches and you get criticized, then you're not being criticized. What's being criticized is the cliches, and you can hide behind that, and the part of you that's wise but treacherous thinks, well, the criticism doesn't really apply to me because, you know, I didn't really say what I thought. And then there's this kind of sense you get that you've gotten away with something, which is a terrible thing. So when I read undergraduate essays, what I see very frequently is, especially the first essay, it's just nothing but cliches. It's awful. It's dull. You can hardly stand reading it because there's nothing in it that's gripping or alive. And then maybe the second essay, you can see there's a layer of cliche, and then now and then the person will be brave enough to poke up a thought of their own. It'll just sort of poke up somewhere maybe in 3 pages in. It's like this little green shoot that's barely alive, and the person is brave enough to pop it up in the hope that, you know, maybe it won't get walloped down with a sledgehammer. And so one of the things I try to do is to point that out. It's like, look, you know, this is something, there's a real thought here. It's a real original thought. It's something that you have the right to because it's derived from your own experience and your own knowledge, and you formulated it in an original and compelling way. But the problem with that is that if you get criticized for that, you're just going to pull right back into your shell, right? Because that hurts, because it's actually part of you that you've exposed, and that's a terrifying thing, to expose yourself like that. But it's an absolute prerequisite to genuine communication and thought.
There is a list of behaviors that contribute to why notsoErudite comes off inauthentically to me. And they include her lacking humility, having a superiority complex, avoiding further explanation by appealing to authority or status when under pressure, having a manipulative communication style, either through her word choice or indirectness, and then the focus of this video will be behaving hypocritically.
Let's go. Vine boom.
People don't like liars.
That's huge.
But hypocrisy is so much more than just lying. It's deception. It's self-deception. It's the misrepresentation of one's moral.
Okay. She's about to spit. I get the feeling. We're into the good part of the video now. Okay. This is where Chaeiry starts spitting, I believe. I bereave.
We're adverse to hypocrites so much that we find it cathartic to see other people call them out. It's become a form of entertainment to watch other people call out bad behavior.
True.
It's just infuriating to me when I see people like Pokimane or Nicolol, or I guess Hassan, to a more severe extent, be these
Tom coming out?
who have only benefited from the current
He should be honored.
and yet do this act where they're like condescendingly talking down to everyone, being like, yeah, I'm one of you guys, you know, fuck the rich. I'm with you. No, you're not. You're rich as fuck. Go away. I can't tell if it's a cynical thing with them where they think they'll get more e-cloud from being pro, you know, socialism, I guess, because it's the hip hop thing these days. But secretly they just don't give a shit. Or maybe they're actually just like really stupid and actually believe what they're saying, despite the obvious cognitive dissonance. Genuinely don't know. I definitely.
So she talks shit about him only doing content on bigger streamers when all she ever did was literally abandoned smaller streamers, like content panels and shit like that, to jump on Destiny stream whenever the fuck he would let her on. And is right now at this very moment watching and restreaming a larger streamer's content. That is what she is doing.
You're in sex work because you can't offer value in the marketplace.
When you say can't offer value in the marketplace, well, in which marketplace? Because in the sex work marketplace, clearly she offers value. She's making a lot of money on it. So that doesn't make any sense, right? A lot of people don't offer value across the entire marketplace. You only offer value in the place that you specialize in. We have specialized.
I feel like we don't need the clips of people calling out hypocrisy to prove that calling out hypocrisy has become a form of entertainment. I feel like we didn't really need this.
Economy, that's how labor works. Just like this Marquette guy or whatever only offers value in, I guess, scam artistry. That's all he does. That's why every startup that he was with failed. That's why the only awards he ever posts are fake ones that he receives on behalf of companies that never produce an actual product. That's why every past Twitter account is every business where ideas were worked on. That's 4,000 followers and died 4 years ago. And that's why he lies about background education, right? It's because he doesn't offer value.
Christians probably are really kind people. Republicans are probably very kind people. I don't think that they're like these monsters. The problem is that they become obsessed with the sin of others rather than looking at themselves a lot more. And I think if you're going to be the type that's constantly encouraging society to slow down, to take the brakes on it, I think like greater self-accountability is required. I'm not really interested in listening to a Christian talk about how trans persons are a bad person when they treat their wife like they are gluttonous, they're extremely obese and overweight, and they underpay their workers. I'm not interested in it. I don't care what you have to say, but you have no moral value, Suzanne. You have to match something too.
We don't hold all hypocrites to the same degree.
Okay.
Of course, even as a society, we determine that some forms of hypocrisy are problematic, which can be really insufferable for those who are constantly put under the microscope for their transgressions.
Hypocrisy is always newsworthy. If somebody is a religious Christian and then they have an affair, this is a newsworthy event, according to the media. If there's a politician who's right-wing, that politician turns out to be gay. Really, really newsworthy, according to the media. But there's one area of hypocrisy that is just not newsworthy to the media. Like, truly not newsworthy. And that, of course, is if you are a socialist who's extremely wealthy and gives very little charity. If you are that person, then hypocrisy just doesn't play a part. Hypocrisy is never a problem because, after all, you're calling for societal change. You yourself don't have to abide by any of those rules because some animals are more equal than other animals. But the socialist has the benefit of the bargain because you get to be as socialist as you want to, like Bernie Sanders, and then you get to have a lake house. You get to be a millionaire while proclaiming that billionaires are paying the flesh up. The charge is that for a socialist, you seem to be spending large, my friend. It doesn't like you could have. There are a lot of places that are not in West Hollywood that don't cost $2.7 million. They're all over the United States.
All these clips,
you
man.
can get yourself a tiny little shack and live yourself the Henry David Thoreau lifestyle for probably 30 grand somewhere. $2.7 million bucks, a lot of money. I don't see you handing that out to all of the immiserated workers in the Marxist social construct. Right? That's the charge. And his response is, well, of course it's expensive around here. This is West Hollywood, which of course is not a response. Piker said 3 weeks later, quote, as long as you don't defang your core values, as long as you're still speaking truth to power, then F them. Yeah, speaking truth to power is being the guy who buys the $3 million house and does interviews with New York Magazine and then jabbers about how the rich don't pay their fair share.
When Ben Shapiro says Christian politician having an affair, we instantly understand the hypocrisy. We can instantly see it. But when the subject of scrutiny is seen as unproblematic and avoids accountability, that's when commentators like Ben Shapiro have to put in more effort to demonstrate how they are problematic and how they should be held accountable. The degrees in which we view hypocrisy depends on a lot of factors, starting with moral engagement.
Okay. This is shit. This is just shit.
I forget who says this, or who
I don't like. Why are we going moral engagement? What, Chaeiry? Don't use like philosophy terms. Arguments to essay. Just start with the notsoErudite section. Okay. Okay. All right, Chaeiry. All right, we're giving this more of a chance. I trust the plan. I trust the plan. Chaeiry is going to skewer notsoErudite. I believe. I'm waiting for the rape.
notsoErudite, however, has built her entire platform off of her moral engagement.
Yeah, I told you this was a feature-length hit piece. I told you, okay?
Despite her reputation for being a logical thinker, her understanding of the risks of living up to the standards that she set is about on par with that of the millionaire socialist Hassan.
And so I guess the thing is, I think it's totally fine to hold me to a higher standard than you hold other people to. But if you like, there has to come like a benefit of the doubt with that. Like there are people that you're going to have different expectations from based on the way that they engage themselves and like purport themselves. And I think it's fine enough for people to be like, well, you purport yourself pretty professionally and like empathetic, so we like hold you to that standard.
Okay, she doesn't just comport herself professionally. There's actually a clip of her screaming, when it comes to psychology, I am your expert.
But that also means that there has to come like benefit of the doubt that comes with that. Like if all that respect does is just increase expectation, then that person gets all of the cons of respect and none of the benefits. It just means like, because I'm conducting myself well more often of the time, I just have less wiggle room, basically, which is crazy.
She's just such a victim. Such high standards for her.
Which is fine. That is how
Totally
we
unfair.
operate. But that also means that there has to be like benefit of the doubt given. And like,
okay, Erudite believes that there's only increased expectations and no positives to the respect her moral engagement and professionalism has granted her.
Yeah, her entire career is built off of being the psychology woman.
Despite her following, view count, and career as an influencer.
Yeah.
When it comes to moral engagement, the expectations you're held to are the ones that you set for yourself. They do not increase without your say. And just like Hassan, when he reaps the rewards for engaging morally by advocating for better working conditions and compensation for the workers at Amazon, he opens himself up to the criticism of his personal behavior as an employer if he does not live up to those same expressed moral values. notsoErudite doesn't like the expectations that she's being held to. She can look to herself to understand why.
do you believe that, are you saying that porn addiction is not true? It's not real?
A problem notsoErudite encounters, not so infrequently, is feeling a sudden surge of confidence and impulsively acting on it without the knowledge needed to be able to effectively communicate her understanding to a panel.
Okay.
It is worth noting impulsive
record scratch freeze frame. Yep, that's me. You're probably
can affect a person's ability
that's
to
right.
access their
the
working
meme edits
memory
go hard.
as well
Okay.
as alter
I will
their
give
speech.
Chaeiry that.
In this debate, moderated by Wick TV, Erudite questions Fairy Queen at the mention of porn addiction not being real. Fairy Queen appropriately and consistently appeals to the APA for her understanding of what is and is not an addiction, despite notsoErudite egging her for her layman's opinion. To put it simply,
No, I did not say that, Rodellis. Maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. We've got a video to talk about that as well. So,
Fairy Queen assertively states and defends her position, whereas notsoErudite passive-aggressively disagrees.
Do you believe that, are you saying that porn addiction is not true? It's not real?
I'm saying that at best it's a compulsion, at least according to the data that I've seen. So I've seen like something according to the World Health Organization, it is considered to be a disorder underneath.
I mean, I'm pretty sure what Fairy Queen's saying is what I've always heard as well.
The ISCDF, I can't pronounce, don't remember what the acronym is, but it's a compulsion. It's not an addiction, at least according to what I've seen. And most of the data that I've seen refer to it as an addiction.
Okay,
it doesn't say
what do you think behavioral addictions are?
I'm not sure what behavioral addictions are. All I can tell you is what the DSM says.
Is gambling an addiction to you? Do you think gambling is an addiction?
I don't think it matters if gambling.
There's a lot of There's a lot of disagreement over whether behavioral addictions are actually addictions, is there not?
Is an addiction to me. What matters is if you can be diagnosed with it according.
You can say this. I'm going to re-ask you the question. Okay, is gambling an addiction?
I'm going to answer like it depends on like what the professionals say. Is it in the
most
then yeah.
Yeah, most professionals consider addiction. I want to know if you consider it an addiction.
I think that's an absurd question to ask. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what the professionals say.
Okay. Well, I'm talking to you, so I want to know what you think about it. And if you want to defer to the professionals, that's fine. I just want to hear you say.
I defer to what the APA says.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, my understanding was that there was a lot of disagreement over whether behavioral addictions should be classified as addictions because they don't have like the same traits as like a chemical physical addiction, right? I could be retarded. That's what I've heard.
So the question is, in gambling, there's no physiological withdrawal. So how is it an addiction?
I don't know. That's a question for the APA. That's not a question for me.
No, it's a question for you because you're saying that because pornography addiction is just
very
based
quick,
on
it's just because she's saying this is what I've read. This is what I've heard from the experts. Like, wasn't Erudite engaged with that?
It's not an addiction. You're dubious about that. When it comes to most behavioral addictions, they're compulsive in nature, right?
Yes.
That's one of the most important elements to an addiction, it seems.
World Health Organization, it did not state it as an addiction. That's what the professionals have stated. And whether or not I think it's an addiction, I'm not in a position to know that because I'm not in a license.
Yeah, Spudgun, you're saying that it's not separate to other behavioral addictions, but I feel like I have heard people say stuff about porn addiction not being real. I have heard that before, but I don't know what the basis for that is.
I'm not a counselor. I don't know. All I can tell you.
Do you think that there's mixed data on this? Do you think some professionals might argue that it is an addiction, that there's sex addictions and stuff like that?
I would agree that there are some. However, they haven't made it into the DSM and they haven't been accepted for years. And I would also believe that many
addictions are accepted for years. If you look in the DSM, you typically have behavioral specifiers that you can add to this thing. So I'm going to explain something to you now, super calmly, if you can let me.
Why is she being so, why is she getting into such a cunt? Dude, this is so common for notsoErudite. Fairy Queen's like trying to... It seems like she's trying to engage pretty reasonably. And notsoErudite is just taking this horrific tone with her. Why? What is the point? What do you think you're achieving here?
notsoErudite is not so coherent right now.
It's just misogyny,
I don't know
guys.
why she is disagreeing with Fairy Queen about what is in the DSM. Fairy Queen is correct, and I don't know why she keeps dipping in and out of using the colloquial and technical terms for addiction. Just to be clear, colloquially, addiction means anything compulsively done. However, in psychology and in the DSM, addiction has additional meaning which requires it to be a standalone disorder. When notsoErudite says behavior addictions have been accepted in the DSM for years, she is either uninformed or intentionally misleading Fairy Queen. To put it technically, all non-substance or behavioral compulsions have been and continue to be listed under other mental disorders. It wasn't until the DSM-5 that gambling disorder was added as the first standalone disorder labeled an addiction. This disorder is different from internet gambling disorder, which in the DSM-5 is not yet recognized as a disorder but is listed as a condition requiring further study. Just because a behavioral addiction is in the DSM does not mean it is recognized as an addiction, as a disorder in the DSM.
Okay, assuming everything Chaeiry's saying here is true, which I'm taking on faith because it sounds like she's just basically essentially reading information that she's researched. I mean, yeah, it sounds like Fairy Queen was right, and then notsoErudite was turning into a confrontational bitch over nothing, essentially. Just trying to get an own. Which is, would not be surprising.
DSM, or by the APA.
Red Pagan is live doing what?
notsoErudite has this not so infrequent habit of asserting herself as an expert, and in this case, an expert challenging authority, without holding herself to the burden of proof necessary to justify.
Oh man, it's another one of the victims of Camden Gerard Davis. Kai is speaking out. Let's go! Let's fucking go! Okay, after this, we're going to do a full review of the police report that's on page 16 of Max's thread on a special website. And then we'll watch The interview with Kai. Let's fucking go.
Posture.
Huge, massive, crazy.
During the Dr. K discourse last year, when Chud Logic wanted to
More
challenge
Mama Mac
Erudite's
stuff,
claim
more
that
life.
Dr. K treats his patients well and has decent efficacy, she deferred to Harvard's reputation and set the bar appropriately high if Chud Logic wanted to challenge her appeal to authority.
I think a lot of people feel like I'm a big defender of Dr. K, which actually is ironic because all I've done is mostly critiques made against him, being like, these aren't the greatest critiques, and I've levied critiques against him. That's literally, I think, all I've done. And I think I've said he broadly seems to be like a decently solid psychiatrist who's well trained and seems to have decent efficacy with his clients.
How do you know that though?
Chud came here?
Well, he's trained by Harvard and then was hired by Harvard, so like that's a pretty good reference of skill by itself, I would say.
I just wonder if that's because you seem to suggest that you've got some insight into how he treats his clients.
No, I would say how he treats his clients broadly. I would say, like, if Harvard has somebody hired to be training their future doctors, I would presume that they've vetted him quite well to ensure that he treats his clients well and has decent efficacy. And
Oh, I remember this argument.
Oh, okay.
That's just a standard of Harvard, I expect, right? And like maybe we can call Harvard into question then, but it's like, okay, well now we're like calling all of Harvard into question, which we could do. It's just that's.
He didn't even go to Harvard, did he? Wasn't it some hospital that was like on the Harvard campus or something? Can someone correct me here?
Much larger claim. You need.
Does anyone remember exactly what it was? Residency.
Sure. It just it just seems like there's a lot of faith being put in just the reputation of Harvard. I mean, what vetting?
Yeah, I remember Erudite looking terrible here as well.
Bad in terms
I mean, I always think she was terrible.
Putting that to one side, but I just feel like appealing to Harvard just because it's Harvard and saying, well, you know, they're a good university, they're going to do the vetting. Like, do you have any insight into like how they vet people or anything along those lines?
I don't personally, but I don't work for Harvard Medicine, right? It's a bit of that like wanting to broadly trust authorities, and like I'm all for also questioning the authorities. It's just like that becomes a pretty extraordinary claim, and so like with extraordinary claims, you just need extraordinary evidence. So if the evidence comes out that like Dr. K is a terrible practitioner, Harvard is actively hiring people without vetting them well, all this stuff, like if all this comes out, like that's really important to come out. I'm not opposed to that. It's just you need a large portion of evidence to prove that, because there is kind of this historical precedent of Harvard being an Ivy League, high tier, high level of empiricism hospital and education center.
Institutions that are trustworthy and trusted strengthen democracy. Anyone who supports democracy would not encourage a layperson to question their trust in institutions without reason. Let's see if notsoErudite holds herself to her own standards. Or if she, I don't know, just starts talking about addiction in technical terms, as if displaying her collegiate knowledge of the physiological effects of addiction is proof enough to appeal to her over the APA.
So it's really important to understand that tegmental activation is important for any sort of compulsive type behavior. So tegmental activation occurs in OCD, and it also occurs in all forms of addiction, which means that all forms of addiction, substance and behavioral, have a compulsive element to it. This is why when like addicts say something, for example, like I couldn't not use, it's not impulsive, it's compulsive. It's like an itch they can't not scratch, right? And it seems to be the case that there's tegmental activation with things like porn and sex addiction, gambling addiction as well, because for us to understand how behaviors can be addicting, it can't just be based off of physiological withdrawal. And the compulsive model is one of the most dominant leading models because it has neuroscientific evidence for it. So just to be clear, I really don't want like people walking away with this thinking porn addiction isn't real. It seems like it is, but it's not.
notsoErudite is not so effective when she passive-aggressively disagrees with Fairy Queen. She should be able to assertively state her belief without challenging the knowledge or confidence Fairy Queen has in hers. If Erudite's goal is to have the panelists and audience walk away from the stream with a better understanding of what an addiction is in contrast to the DSM, she needed to explain how a disorder...
It's sad that we go after notsoErudite so hard when she is just a typical psych undergrad. Oof, Jesus Christ.
Gets included in the DSM, not how addiction works. In order for a disorder to be included in the DSM, it must be peer-reviewed with empirical backing without much open controversy. Just because a disorder is not currently in the DSM does not mean it was never or can never be listed as a disorder. At the time the DSM-4 was finalized, there was some controversy and not enough research done into gambling, and thus it remained a compulsive behavior that is captured by other disorders.
Okay. Chaeiry sounds like Chaeiry's just spitting everything. This aligns with my loose understanding of psychology from the 1 year I did in it, and the little bits I picked up from the internet. Okay, this aligns with what I've heard. I don't know if it's true, but it aligns with what I've heard. But it's just not, It sounds like Erudite was wrong and being hypocritical based. Okay, cool.
With more research and expert consensus, when they configured the DSM-5, gambling became the first non-substance addiction to be included as a disorder. With this knowledge and understanding, notsoErudite could then explain to Fairy Queen that since the DSM-5 was published, further research has shown less controversy and more support in viewing porn addiction as a standalone disorder, and that these are strong indications that it will be included as such in the DSM-6. Unfortunately, notsoErudite postures herself over others as an expert with the tone and smugness, suggesting they do so as well, without any of the merit. The social reward that you get for holding chud logic to your professional standards in debate when challenging institutions, you yourself are held to. So when you fail to justify why Fairy Queen should deviate from the APA, you look like a hypocrite. As the panel continues, notsoErudite, who has been confusingly switching back and forth between colloquial and technical terms and definitions in this debate, ends up cutting off the moderator Wick because she interprets his correctly applied colloquial use
but Wick is a cock, let's be real, okay?
Of the word compulsion to be a failed attempt at technical jargon. The way TV shows end on a cliffhanger before a commercial break to keep the viewer wanting more is very much intentional. Writers plan their episodes around breaks to keep their viewer engaging compulsively or in an exciting, irresistible way. In this clip I'm about to show you, Wick uses compulsive in this same way to describe this same goal of viewer retention used by live streamers. Unfortunately, notsoErudite's earlier use of the word compulsion in its technical definition has removed her ability to understand the word outside of the DSM, and then makes Wick the blame for her own confusion, resulting in a mass spread.
Yeah, throw up some Subway Surfers next time. Make some gameplay footage.
Addiction, whether you believe it or not, gambling addiction, whether you believe it or not.
Lose attention.
Streaming and OnlyFans both try to engage people to compulsively, right? Check out your content compulsively, right? Streaming services do this all the time. Like we can look at Kick, for example. Kick allows gambling streams. Do we consider a gambling stream be exploitative?
Okay, just because addiction is compulsive in nature, it doesn't mean that people trying to hijack addiction centers are like the behavior itself is inherently compulsive. So I don't want to I just want to be really clear about this language because we're now using clinical words. Compulsive is a very specific thing, right? Watching gambling streams isn't about compulsivity, but gambling addictions is about compulsivity. When they're doing gambling streamers, they're just trying to be entertaining and be as attention grabbing as possible.
Okay, so I need to cut in on this because, this is on the APA's website. It was published in 2014. It references a very specific study that was done specifically with brain science, specifically related to pornography addiction. And what this person did, and I will read out exactly who this person is. This is Nicole Prowse, PhD researcher at the Department of Psychiatry at the University of South California, Los Angeles, and colleagues studied brain responses in people who have trouble regulating their porn consumption. What they wanted to find is if their brains reacted to pornographic stimulus in the same way as looking at beer, in the same way as looking at heroin or any other form of addiction. And what they found was when they reviewed those brain scans, our findings do not make them look like addicts. This is on the APA's website. It's on 2014. The title of the article is Pornography Addictive. It was published by Kristen Weir in April 2014, volume 45, number 4.
I believe you that it's real. The question is, can you just clarify the methodology because I don't have that study in front of me. Were the people that were looking at the porn only addicted to porn, or were they also addicted to beer and to heroin and stuff? Did they have comorbid addiction disorders?
Okay, let me find you.
That's going to be super important, right? If I look at heroin, I'm not going to be like, oh no, my addiction centers are firing. That's not how this works.
Everything about this debate was disappointing and needlessly condescending. notsoErudite relies on the idea of her education rather than any of the knowledge or critical thinking she should be able to apply from her education to communicate her beliefs. There's no reason erudite should be impulsively grasping at ways to persuade Fairy Queen.
Okay, this is probably going to be my least favorite part of the video, I imagine, because I really don't give a fuck about what erudite thinks about addiction. I don't like psychology content. I don't watch psychology content, so this is going to just fall completely flat on me. I don't really care about this stuff. I care about her being a horrible cunt. Okay? I care more about her drama shit, because that's what I'm interested in. As Gwyn said earlier, I'm post-political, anti-political. Okay? And that's the same for philosophy, I'm post academic. Okay, that's what I am completely. All right, there's no need for any of this. Thinking is stupid. Just watch drama, shout at people. Anti-thinking, exactly. All right.
To disregard a study cited by the APA to explain why porn addiction is not listed as a disorder in the DSM-5. NotsoErudite is disagreeable here to a fault. She uses indirectness and unqualified appeals against authority to get Fairy Queen to consider the DSM could be wrong in a way that undermines the APA. A competent, knowledgeable person would not want to convince someone to disregard the APA simply to suit their position in a debate. There is a coherent, informative approach notsoErudite could have taken in this disagreement that I previously laid out, but unfortunately, erudite is entirely debate-brained. Also worth noting, in the recent weeks, since I have been vocal about my concerns with notsoErudite dismissing criticism, she has since stated on JStock's stream that she apologized to Fairy Queen for this debate. Zero comment or acknowledgement has been made as to what she did wrong, so I really can't understand or say what Erudite has taken away from this performance, but that is her choice to make. Unfortunately for her, private apologies do not do much to absolve public hypocritical behavior.
He is frequently wrong and smug. Good start.
You're honestly red pilling me right now.
Hey,
but seriously though,
swallow it. It's better.
Let me add one extra thing really quick. It's also stop making up new words.
Wait. People still go on Prime Guys panels? He still gets guests? What?
Try to use the pre-existing ones that everybody has in their mind. Like when you talk to conservatives about shit, stop trying to throw in all this technical language. Use what they understand.
Oh yeah. Nick is possibly even worse than Erudite. Let's be real. I just don't have to see him as much. Nick is fucking insufferable. Where's that, people were posting earlier. It's J. Keith message. Let me pull it up. Nick is a total muppet. He's the biggest sped I've ever fucking met, honestly. Ever had the displeasure of dealing with in content creation. He's the biggest fucking retard. He looks maxed and got really good at charisma.
And I'm going to say this straight. The left is just smarter than the right. The right is just more dumb. They just are. So stop trying to make them learn new to even come to the table and cater them to them a little bit. They need it.
Here's the thing about the black pill. If there is one man who is an exception to the rule, he's short, unattractive, and pulls women just fine, then your whole rule is broken. Because if he can do that consistently, it means whatever he's doing, somebody else can replicate. And if he can do it, you can do it.
The black pill is a generalization that says women are shallow and will always pick the most attractive men if given the choice. They blame women's liberation for putting women in a position of making choices and then view their own lack of success in being chosen as a life sentence of involuntary celibacy.
Here's the thing about the black pill. If there is one man who is an exception to the rule, he's short, unattractive, and pulls women just fine, then your whole rule is broken. Because if he can do that consistently, it means whatever he's doing, somebody else can replicate. And if he can do it, you can do it. Unless you're going to tell me that there are just some men with magical cocks and magical ninjutsu who are able to convince women to love them despite their short, unattractive ways. You are wrong ontologically. The black pill is ontologically false. It is insane at every single level. It is so insanely false.
Oh no! What notsoErudite's arguing is a straw man of the black pill.
Dude. I thought DGGs mocked the use of ontologically. Like, I thought this was always meant to be like a ironic thing when they said that they were mocking Vosh. I thought that's what it was. Why is she using this unironically in a place where it totally does not fit? Okay, let's see what Chaeiry's got to say. She doesn't understand irony. Oh, she was kicked in the head by a horse as a child, so it's possible that that's fucked her up somehow. I don't know.
It's so insanely false.
What notsoErudite's arguing is a straw man of the black pill. She's arguing against the specific proposition that all relationships are chosen by women solely on physical appearance. This would allow her to use deductive reasoning, which would only require her to show you one short, unattractive man that consistently finds success with women to disprove it.
I'll find that horse.
No,
Give that
stop!
fucking medal.
Stop and listen. Can everyone be a Destiny? Yes, because everyone can be a Destiny, because not everyone can be Destiny, but every single person can look at the skills that Destiny is bringing.
Everyone can be Destiny. You can be Destiny, guys. You can be Destiny. Everyone's Destiny in their own way, guys.
Table. Here's the more important thing. Destiny exists, sure, but here's the problem. My husband exists. He was slaying women as a 5'6" high school dropout. And this was before he was, like, all he did is he looks maxed and got really good at charisma. He did it consistently. The fact that Nick exists at all means that you are wrong. If Nick exists and is consistently polling above his level, that means anyone can replicate it.
I don't even say it, do I? I don't even say it. I don't need to say it. I don't need to say it. I don't even say it. You think you're talking very highly of yourself right now. You're talking very highly of Jesus Christ, dude. Holy. This is not good. Chaeiry's got all the clips, man. They consistently pull above his level. Yes, yes. Yep. Let's say this again. Let's take this back. This is a good clip. Let's say the full thing. Why not? I like this.
Can everyone be a Destiny? Yes, because everyone can be a Destiny, because not everyone can be Destiny, but every single person can look at the skills that Destiny is bringing to the table. Here's the more important thing. Destiny exists, sure, but here's the problem. My husband exists. He was slaying women as a 5'6" high school dropout. And this was before he was, like, all he did is he looks maxed and got really good at charisma. And he did it consistently. The fact that Nick exists at all means that you are wrong. If Nick exists and is consistently polling above his level, that means anyone can replicate it. If an exception exists and it is consistently existing, anyone, you can look at what he's doing. Okay, you have a rule that the world is this way, that to achieve getting women, you must be this way. But one guy breaks the rule, and he breaks it consistently. All you need to do is look at what that guy does and then replicate it. And I'm really serious. Unless you're telling me that he can do magic and therefore he is non-replicable, you're just capping. You're just capping.
You're just capping.
I'm not saying it's easy. Before anyone fucking shoves words in my mouth, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying you're wrong. I'm saying you're wrong. If you're short, you're doomed. You're just not. Nick is 5'6", and he's always pulled. Nick isn't an 8. He's just not an 8. I'm sorry. And he wasn't as buff as he was when he was
Jesus Christ.
He's a high school dropout.
I'm not really sure why Kyla throws Destiny and her husband Nick under the bus like this. Neither of them would...
she just... Dude, they just fuck with each other, don't they? Well, this is like a murder-suicide relationship. Like, telling Lav that Erudite's insecure about her femininity because of saying, Nick's not an 8. He's just not. He's 5'6". He's a high school dropout. These two are going to kill each other.
Be regarded as physically unattractive, but that's not her worst offense here. In an attempt to intellectualize the black pill, Kyla confuses her chat by her incorrect application of logic. Deductive reasoning cannot be applied to disprove a generalization. What Erudite disproved was a proposition she incorrectly presented as the black pill. The actual black pill is a generalization, and if Kyla intended on using logic to disprove it, she would have needed to apply inductive reasoning rather than deductive. Unfortunately, she never comes to that realization as she instead decides on attacking her chat.
No! I'm not assuming anything, Callum. I don't think ninjutsu, genjutsu, and magic exists. Do you?
Oh, wait, is that the Callum guy who comes around spicy chat sometimes who fucking hates Erudite and was arguing with Nick?
Because the unique thing is called social skills. Are you going to tell me that you can't replicate social skills? Really?
Just get social skills, guys. If you're a 30-year-old autistic wizard, just get social skills. That's how it works.
Not at all? Just no way? Fucking capping. Fucking capping. Shit drives me crazy. Read a book. Specifically, read this book. Read Scout Mindset by Julia Galiff. Please, for the love of God, I beg you, Callum, read it. Because you're wrong here. You're wrong. You're ontologically wrong. This is fucking math that I'm explaining to you right now. I don't know if you don't understand. You obviously don't understand this. This is mathematical. If there is an exception to a hard rule that can...
Yeah, honestly, the erudite fusing ebonics is just like so wretched, viscerally disgusting. Ugh. Ugh.
Can be replicated. The rule doesn't matter. The rule is busted. This is how fucking science works, bitch. If I...
Science, bitch. She's so cringe. It's like watching your fucking mum stream, dude. Jeez, or not even mum, like your fucking, like, 56-year-old aunt. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, man. It's fucking gross, honestly. Jesus Christ. Just throw out an N-word, why not? Just fucking go for it, Erudite. Why don't you recite some DMX for us? Fuck me, dude. Was she homeschooled? I'm not sure. Why do people watch her? This is awful. I've asked this question many times. But it's like mentally ill DGG types, like, you know, college-age men, mentally ill college-age men who struggle with women, don't really get, you know, much interaction with women, and feel like they get some sort of, like, you know, sexual gratification, I think, from the idea of being helped by this woman online. Honestly, I think that's what's going on. It's like psychology OnlyFans. It's like psychology OnlyFans, basically.
Say the world must be this way, and then I consistently find something that all the time breaks that rule. All I need to do is analyze what's going on in that situation and replicate it. And if I can get the same result, which is breaking the rule, then the rule never existed. It was wrong. My point is that you're not making a valid claim at its core. But again, I respect your time. We can touch base later. You're not making a valid claim at its core.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the therapist GF experience. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then it's even funnier because she sells, you know, find a therapist service where you get to talk to her about your mental health. Low price of $60, whatever the fuck it is.
Oh man, bro. Maybe you're just heated. I'll just grant that you're heated. I'm sorry. Take a basic philosophy course. I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't know what to say. I hate that answer. Like, go educate yourself. But like,
Psychologist of the night.
Clicking for you. Like, you are.
Oh no.
You're monstrously wrong. Oh, when people are so wrong and so dumb and they're smug about it, Queen, we saw your. I just wanna kill something. You can't be dumb and wrong and smug about it. It's so cringe.
Okay, Chaeiry, you're redeeming yourself here. This is a good video, okay?
So cringe. Oh, it's so cringe.
Ugh.
It's funny to see notsoErudite understand how fucking frustrating it is to see someone so wrong be so smug.
You don't know math while I'm explaining like a foundational logical premise. Like, it's just like, oh my god. I just want to cry. You're very conceited. I'm not. I'm not. That's like saying, that's like if I was being like, no, I promise you 2 + 2 is 4. And you're like, I'm pretty sure it's 5 though. And I'm like, it's not. It's 4. And you're like, God, why would you get so angry at me? It's obviously 5. And I'm like, it's not. And then I like explain, I'm like, the reason it's not 5 is because here, count. Okay, so when you have 1 and then another 1, so that's 2, and you count 2 more. And so then you add 2, right? So 1, 2, and then you add 2 more, 3, 4, and then you put those together, and that equals 4. And you're like, I'm just not getting it. It's pretty stupid of you to say. And I'm like, no, you're stupid. At some point, I get to call you stupid, okay? That doesn't make me conceited, just because you don't understand that 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. Here's the shit. If I take the time to patiently explain a concept to you, like 18 times in a row, you're like, well, she's conceited because she's not acknowledging that she...
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing worse than someone with an ego who can't just own the fact they've got an ego. Like, I can be a bit of a fucking narcissistic prick sometimes, so I just say it. I just say, listen, I'm fucking, yeah, I'm being an egotistical prick. I know, yes. Why not just say that? Why just say that? You know when you're doing it.
You could be wrong.
You obviously know when you're doing
2
it.
+ 2 is 4. Why would I acknowledge that I'm wrong? That I could be wrong? What do you mean? do you want me to say, okay, yes, theoretically in some other multiverse, it could exist that numbers exist in a different way that we can't even conceive of. And in that multiverse that exists, 2 plus 2 could theoretically equal 5. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know in what way that would ever work. But it's possible that there are things outside my imagination. It's like, is that what I have to say to you? She's wrong. Cope. Good job, Jill.
If Nick's power is charisma, it can't be replicated. It's like saying someone's comedic talents can be replicated. Yes, it can be. This is why comedians mentor each other. What do you think dating with fire, playing with fire does? He's basically a charisma coach.
And I have been showing you all videos of him trying to pick up women and him being turned down. The women that he has on his show, he either pays them or he promotes his channel, which is basically dead, and says, this is a channel. You can promote your OnlyFans, you can promote your Instagram, you can promote this, and women are going to take the bait.
Yeah, you're right. Nick is probably like in the top 90th percentile for charisma. You don't need to be. If you look smack a little bit and you figure out how to like have a couple of like decent characteristics about, like, be a decently nice person, and then you just improve your social skills, you don't need to be Dave Chappelle. You just need to be like not where you are now, clearly, because you would be Black Pill if you had these charisma skills. I promise you. You just need to be better than you are now. That's it.
The chat eventually gets Kyla to consider the difficulty in replicating charisma, but by that point, Erudite had given up and instead turned to mock her chat for, well, giving up. Most stream chats are comprised mostly of men, so it's not odd that a female streamer would at times struggle to relate to their chat if they were discussing men's issues. notsoErudite, however, built her platform on TikTok and then Twitch debating and advocating on behalf of men. Unfortunately, notsoErudite makes the not-so-fortunate mistake of misunderstanding and misrepresenting the issues.
I don't know who the men are that are like saying, oh yeah, notsoErudite really understands men's issues. I really feel seen when I hear notsoErudite talking about men's issues. She's like totally out of touch, dude. Like every time I say the fact that she can't understand alone, the fact she can't understand why men seem to all have such, well, not all men, but you know, a lot of men online seem to have such viscerally strong reactions to the way she comes off. Like that alone should show you how fucking out of touch she is. She's just so fucking smug. You're seeing it now, like how fucking smug, condescending she is, dictating to them what they think, and saying that, oh, the black pill means that if a single man who doesn't seem immediately attractive to women can get women, then it must be completely wrong. Literally dictating what a group of men think to them when it's not true, and then tearing that down, and then acting fucking smug about it. Who is sitting there going, oh yeah, based queen, based queen. Based queen? Who is doing that? So insane. Isn't she like, I don't know, BX Bullet was saying some shit about her being involved with that incels.as website as well. What was that shit about?
Many men are struggling with today. If this was a video to give advice, I'd say, don't be smug or stupid. Just be better than you are now, or than you are here.
This is rich. Okay.
The Red Pagan interview could not be going worse. Can someone, if there's anyone around that would do this, would you please screen record it just in case something the worst happens and we lose it? If anyone is around that could do that.
Now that I've dismantled all of your arguments, the best you have now is, this is rich. I'm not black pill. I'm not black pill, but I don't think social skills could be taught. Okay. I don't know, man. I guess if you think it's that hard, life sucks and then you die. Like, if you're desperately dedicated to just convincing yourself that life sucks and there's no hope for you, okay. I'm not gonna fight for you. You don't want it. But if you ever do change your mind, you know where I am.
Now you're all too scared to say what you're thinking.
Let's go.
You're a victim. Fuck that. I cancel culture. Don't listen to these
The
bitches.
king.
Watch. I can handle vultures.
It's not what you said. It's not even your position. It's the way you are saying it. As I said, if you said Max, I think you have a serious problem here. I'm worried about you. I think your relationship is abused.
Dude, I think this is the one where they got into a massive fight, wasn't it? because this stream was insane. He fucking... It was so crazy watching Destiny and notsoErudite like totally fucking gaslight the fuck out of him. I can't remember what it was about, but I remember it being fucking totally insane.
I think bad stuff's going on, and I want to try to help you.
I don't want to help you though. That's not my goal.
I know. But do you see how you're now changing the subject? But if we go back to the subject we were just talking about, you can see how...
No, the difference is you engage...
Was it about Chaeiry? Was it about... Did it start off with the phone thing where Destiny was like, talking about... I don't know whether he let Chaeiry have a phone. Is that how it started?
Guys, just shut the fuck up and stop interrupting me. I literally can't...
Yeah. It's crazy that they acted like they didn't understand why he was upset by that. Why entertaining the idea that he was not letting Chaeiry have a phone might be an insulting thing for a friend to do on stream.
No, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't talk about this with... I need Erudite. I need you to leave, or I need you to let me finish talking when I'm talking.
Mr. Girl and Destiny, who we'll refer to as Max and Steven, had interesting conversations to observe from a distance. A lot of people believed Steven's goals in these conversations was simply to farm people like Max because they make for good content. At the time, Steven wanted to develop more as a person, and that drive for autonomous growth can come with an appreciation for others who look to be on similar but unique paths. Steven would describe these people as interesting, others describe them as mentally ill. Earlier, I mentioned Dabrowski's theory of positive disintegration for the level memes, but there is something to the theory that can explain why people like Max and others with mental illness are so interesting. Over the decades, psychologists have studied human development and identified traits, like intensity, that can often be indicators of a personality disorder and linked those to the potential for higher advancement in human development. The most interesting people are intense. They have a gift, a drive, an overexcitement that can't be plagiarized, and when paired with intelligence and creativity, they create the cliches that inauthentic people latch onto and hide behind. Max, despite how I personally feel about him, was a very interesting and authentic person. In this stream, he is aiming to resolve...
True. Okay, Chaeiry's so base. At least she can admit Mr. Go is being authentic when he talks about shit. I fucking hate that the DGG myth is that Mr. Go just lies, is like totally fake. Bro.
Interpersonal conflict between him and Steven regarding how Steven had been speaking publicly about Max's relationship with his girlfriend Chaeiry. I personally view Max and Chaeiry's relationship as mutually emotionally abusive. But most of the internet at this time regarded Max to be the only, or at least the more, abusive one of the two because of the provocative content he put out, giving insight to the private, intimate arguments they would have.
Chaeiry is winning me over here with the actual, like, not retarded engagement with Mr. Girl.
Max and Steven agreed for notsoErudite to moderate the
very
conversation,
rare to see.
but after about an hour, Max starts to vocalize his concern that notsoErudite is not so neutral.
I need you to stop.
So just to be clear, none of this is like on me. So I'd appreciate like this like
No,
hard.
I'm talking. I want you to shut the fuck up. I want you
But the
both to
problem
shut the fuck
that
up.
you're talking about
He's so based. He's so based.
70% of the time in
No,
any
that's not even true.
Yes. This one-to-one dialogue you've had with Steven, you have unequivocally talked.
I understand. I want to finish saying what I'm saying, and then you can respond. Does that work for you?
Can you say it in 2 sentences?
Probably not.
Can you try? Say it in 2 sentences.
I'll try, but I need you guys to both let me finish what I'm saying. Because the tag team dynamic is really fucking irritating.
I've been very neutral almost the whole time.
Bro, she's such a fucking liar.
I just said that I don't think that's true. So saying the opposite of what I said is not really an argument. I understand. You don't. Nobody thinks they're tag teaming somebody. I know you don't think you're doing that. That's just what I think.
To break this down, Max is hurt that Steven spoke about Max and Chaeiry's relationship in a way he feels added to the public perception that Max was the sole abuser in his relationship. Steven, however, has a lot of plausible deniability to Max's claim due to his indirectness, which is the difference between him saying, Max sounds like an abuser.
This is the best content period, low infuriating, but you can look away. Dude, honestly, Destiny's stream has not been the same since Mr. Girl left. It's just, it's fucked. It's fucked. This was actually good content. No, he just sits there reading Wikipedia all day. Fucking queer.
He's a boyfriend. And does Max let Chaeiry have a cell phone? To put it simply, at this time, Steven does think Max is abusive, but he does not feel comfortable or confident enough to directly say as much because he didn't have enough evidence to support such a direct statement if it did initiate conflict. And in his experience, everything initiates conflict. As an online debater, obviously, Steven is not what comes to mind when people think of someone who is conflict avoidant. But when it comes to interpersonal conflict, he demonstrates a different degree of comfort with conflict and will often avoid directly engaging. Max and Steven, I think, have a good understanding of each other and this conflict they are discussing here. Max is hiking uphill to prove conflict was initiated by Steven, and Steven is trotting downhill behind his indirectness. In my opinion, they are both wrong, and so I'm already bored. But things get more interesting when the moderator, notsoErudite, takes an already uphill battle for Max and adds an avalanche. let's go back and pay attention to what Max is
Yeah,
actually
quote-unquote moderator.
asking. of Steven.
Insane.
It's not what you said. It's not even your position. It's the way you are saying it. As I said, if you said, Max, I think you have a serious problem here. I'm worried about you. I think your relationship is abusive. I think bad stuff's going on, and I want to try to help you.
I don't want to help you though. That's not my goal.
I know.
Yeah, the fact anyone came away from this thinking that notsoErudite was like being honest or actually trying to sort out the situation is so fucking retarded. It was clear what was going on. She saw an opportunity to get the fucking digs in on Mr. Girl and try and hasten him out the door, and it was fucking playing out just so blatantly. She's such a manipulative cunt, man. It's so clear to anyone.
But do you see how you're now changing the subject? But if we go back to the subject we were just talking about,
and ignore this part.
Steven, you're changing the subject. You're changing the subject from the way you're saying something to what you're saying. I'm saying you could condemn me. Your position could be that I'm absolutely incredibly abusive, but you could still present that and talk about that in a way that is warm and non-condemning. And your position can be that I'm kind of maybe abusive, and you can present that in a way that is extremely condemning. You did the second one. So when you say, oh, you want me to hide what I think, I'm not saying I want you to hide what you think or that you should. I'm saying there's the way I would talk about an abuse, you punching Melina in the face, I would certainly condemn your behavior, but I would do it in a way that didn't fuck you over.
Again, I think Max and Steven have a good understanding of each other here. They just both view themselves as way more cunning and selfless than they are. Both of these streamers are very self-preserving, and honestly, they should stay that way, because they are both very hard to empathize with and have compassion for.
And I would also like to respond to the other thing you said, is that I feel uncomfortable. It's not to protect you so much as protect me. I feel uncomfortable being in the position of talking about somebody with their partner in front of thousands of people. I'm not
Is that a boundary that you have with Steven, that you don't want him to talk about your relationship when she's not there? Is that a boundary that you're asking for?
No.
So why are you comparing your interpersonal style to his?
Again, this is the tag team thing. Steven said, wait.
No, I'm asking you.
Yes, no, I want to explain why I said that.
She cannot let him get a fucking word out, can she?
Asking me why I'm saying it. Steven said that if he applies the same logic that I used with the kid gloves thing, then it implies it's a horrible thing for me to say, I don't want to talk about you with your wife behind your back. And I'm saying, no, those are different, and I want to explain why they're different. The reason is, I'm not saying that there's some terrible thing that would come out about you or that she would say something terrible about you. I'm saying that it is, I feel like inherently fucks you over the fact that I'm talking about you with your partner in public when you're not there to represent yourself. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I think it's wrong. But you, asshole, Steven, want to interview Shaylin
Jesus Christ.
About a conversation where you're going to fuck me, and you're going to fuck me in the interview with her. You're going to do the same fucking underhanded, cold thing and try to make me look as bad as possible.
Okay.
And
do you think you're interpersonally better at relations than Steven is? Do you think your interpersonal style, the boundaries, the way that you try to protect the people that you love is overall better than Steven's?
Anyone else reading way too deep into Max and Steven testing each other's friendship with how much they can pry through conversations with the other's partners that could reveal very one-sidedly unflattering ideas about their friend? You know, if those conversations were to be had with no empathic concern for the subject of scrutiny? Me neither. I was literally on the same page as notsoErudite, just thinking, if I wanted to moderate and keep this conversation fair and on track, right now would be the perfect time to cut off Max and ask if he thinks he's better than Steven at friendships. Okay, hold on. Let me not be so indirect. Keep in mind that at this time in Steven's career, he is on a building friendships arc, almost initiated by notsoErudite. So the idea that she would even weight a question that implies Steven is good at maintaining friendships is just willful ignorance. But Max engages with her question, nonetheless, and manages to entirely avoid the bait of comparing his ability to Steven's. That does not, however, stop notsoErudite from continuing to dismiss Max's concerns while Steven gleefully plays video games.
I think there are, overall, I don't know, but I think there are certain things. It's not even better. It's just what works better for me. Like if you don't like certain things or you don't want certain things, then the way you live is better for you.
But then why don't you just tell Steven what your boundaries are, and then Steven gets to decide whether or not he's willing to work within those?
I did. I set a boundary. I said Shaylin is not going to come on stream. I'm not going to have her on stream.
Right?
No, me saying she's not going to come on stream and I want to protect her from the chat. If 5 minutes later you say, is it true that you don't let her have a phone? I don't know if that is totally respecting my boundary. I think that you kind of fucked me over a little bit.
Unrelated. Did he respect your
You may think it's completely unrelated, but I don't think it is.
Respect your boundary.
An effective mediator who is interested in Steven maintaining his friendship would not add to his indirectness by speaking and objecting on his behalf. Avoiding being clear and direct with Max is what has gotten Steven in this situation. And the way notsoErudite jumps to aid him makes that indirectness feel more aggressive. notsoErudite feels like an attack dog, but she's not. She's just very aware of how uncomfortable accountability is and doing a really good job of trying to help Steven avoid it.
Did he respect your
You may think it's completely unrelated, but I don't think it is.
Did he respect your boundary about not bringing Shaylin on stream? Is that correct?
If I ask my coworker...
No, answer the question. Don't weasel out. Answer the question.
I already said no. It's not respecting my boundary. No.
How not?
I'm explaining it.
Yeah, I'm going to lead this conversation now because you're being a baby. So I'm going to help you out here. So
yeah, bro. She's such a fucking cunt, dude. Holy shit. You being a baby. You're being a baby. Bro, I would fucking lose my mind. Oh. Yeah, this is the moderator. Dude.
Okay.
Tell us now why that wasn't respecting your boundary. Your boundary was Shaylin can't come on stream.
Isn't it true that little kids insult each other by calling each other?
So are you telling me that you stated a boundary and behind the boundary was a second secret one that you didn't tell him about and Steven actually crossed this one? Well, he didn't cross the boundary that you stated. If you wanted a different boundary, you should have said it.
I didn't say you crossed it. I said he didn't respect it.
What's the difference?
I'll tell you. If I ask a coworker on a date and she says no, and I say, oh, okay, well, I accept your answer is no. And then I go to the lounge and I say, Sarah's pussy stanks, as loud as I can. While I would be technically not crossing her boundary, not forcing her to go on a date with me, I'm not exactly respecting it either.
They're wholly different boundaries. The first boundary is I don't want to go on a date with you. And then there's a lot of social convention boundaries as well. For example, typically when people say, no, I don't want to go on a date with you, while that's unrelated to what you stated, most people also don't want people making loud, negative comments about their gender.
There's also another boundary that's crossing.
Boundaries. Well, they're different boundaries. Do you understand that?
Well, okay, so in my mind, if the two behaviors are linked to one another, then the person would probably feel like their sexual boundaries about saying no to the date were also not being respected because they're saying, well, if I say no to a date, then somebody yells about my... Well,
they would have felt that a different boundary was crossed. They would have been like, yeah, he didn't force me to go on a date.
That's just,
say really creepy stuff about my vagina, which is typically
an
implied boundary, right? There's some social contracts that we work with.
Yes,
and one social contract is probably don't loudly say shit about people's genitals. These are separate boundaries. One of them is implicit and one of them is explicit. You respected the explicit one. You didn't respect the implicit one.
It's really hard to argue that two things aren't connected. So you can just say that I'm wrong for connecting them, but that is how I feel.
I'm not saying that they're unrelated. I'm saying they're two separate boundaries. And what you're saying to Steven is this was my boundary and you didn't respect it. But he did.
So what the fuck is her
different boundaries? Well, different boundaries.
Okay,
do you understand?
If I ask a coworker on a date and she says no, I already said no. It's not respecting my boundary. No.
Max is what has gotten Steven in this situation. And the way notsoErudite jumps to aid him makes that indirectness feel more aggressive. notsoErudite feels like an attack dog, but she's not. She's just very aware of how uncomfortable accountability is and doing a really good job of trying to help Steven avoid it.
Did he respect
your boundary? You may think it's completely unrelated, but I don't think it is.
Did he respect your boundary about not bringing Shaylin on stream? Is that correct?
If I ask my coworker in
the answer the question. Don't weasel out. Answer the question.
I already said no. It's not respecting my boundary. No.
How not?
I'm explaining it.
Yeah, I'm going to lead this conversation now because you're being a baby. So I'm going to help you out here. So tell us now why that wasn't respecting your boundary. Your boundary was Shaylin can't come on stream.
Isn't it true that little kids insult each other by calling each other?
So are you telling me that you stated a boundary and behind the boundary was a second secret one that you didn't tell him about and Steven actually crossed this one? Well, he didn't cross the boundary that you stated. If you wanted a different boundary, you should have said it.
I didn't say he crossed it. I said he didn't respect it.
What's the difference?
I'll tell you. If I ask a coworker on a date and she says no, and I say, oh, okay, well, I accept your answer is no. And then I go to the lounge and I say, Sarah's pussy stanks, as loud as I can. While I would be technically not crossing her boundary, not forcing her to go on a date with me, I'm not exactly respecting it either.
Yeah, okay, so coming up as close to the boundaries you can and punish it and doing like actions that sort of punish them for not letting you cross that boundary. Like that, yeah, that's not respecting the boundary, really, is it? Why is she being so fucking autistic about it? I know why she's being autistic about this. It's to fucking show fealty. But
wholly different boundaries. The first boundary is I don't want to go on a date with you. And then there's a lot of social convention boundaries as well. For example, typically when people say, no, I don't want to go on a date with you, while that's unrelated to what you stated, most people also don't want people making loud, negative comments about their gender.
There's also another boundary that's crossing.
Boundaries. Well, they're different boundaries. Do you understand that?
Well, okay. So in my mind, if the two behaviors are linked to one another, then the person would probably feel like their sexual boundaries about saying no to the date were also not being respected because they're saying, well, if I say no to a date and somebody yells about my...
They would have felt that a different boundary was crossed. They would have been like, yeah, he didn't force me to go on a date. He did say really creepy stuff about my vagina, which is typically an implied boundary, right? There's some social contracts that we work with. And one social contract is probably don't loudly say shit about people's genitals. These are separate boundaries. One of them is implicit and one of them is explicit. You respected the explicit one. You didn't respect the implicit one.
It's really hard to argue that two things aren't connected. So you can just say that I'm wrong for connecting them, but that is how I feel.
I'm not saying that they're unrelated. I'm saying they're two separate boundaries. And what you're saying to Steven is this was my boundary and you didn't respect it. But he did. He didn't respect your implicit boundary that was connected to that.
I know. We both are clear on where the other person is. And I have no further comment about this.
I am also going to have no comment about notsoErudite's flawed understanding and application of boundaries right now. We will discuss her superiority complex and manipulative communication style in another video. This video is about hypocrisy. And right now, Steven is finally going to speak. Surely he will make a direct statement and not just ask a question Max has already provided the answer for, and then laugh when notsoErudite cuts in to declare everything to be Max's fault because Steven is a retarded child. I mean, not a mind reader. Steven is not a mind reader.
For all the implicitness, then am I not supposed to bring up anything
related to retarded child memes?
No,
Oh, Chaeiry
I'm not talking about
cooking.
chilling with you.
Chaeiry getting schnasty with it.
But this is the issue, right? Is this boundary?
It makes you feel. It makes it
No,
feel like
it's
you're part of the
not.
family.
Is he losing his mind and be saying schnasty again?
Your
You
whole
know?
shtick is that you're explicit and you say things that people don't say, which means you say the implicit stuff.
That's not a shtick. It's called a personality.
Stephen not understanding that there was also an implicit boundary attached to that is only your fault for not expressing that. That is your responsibility exclusively. You can be mad that he didn't respect it, but there's no way he could have mind read that.
If Stephen doesn't understand that asking somebody if they allow their girlfriend to use a phone could potentially start a harmful rumor about them, that they don't allow their girlfriend to use a phone, then I think he needs to read some Internet 101. But I suspect that he does understand.
I would
that,
make
and
the
probably
same statement about you, that when you have videos that outwardly to any normal human being would look like this could be really abusive, and then you make an utterance saying like, no, I want to protect her from evil things online, and I think you even knowingly made that statement knowing it sounds a little bit dicey. You can't be surprised when the question comes up. Like,
how would you have said it?
Well, I mean, I probably would have said the same thing, but I wouldn't be upset when somebody would ask me for clarification otherwise.
Oh, so
Because I know
when
I
you
can
say, hey, I heard you don't let your girlfriend have a phone, you're just asking for clarification.
I didn't say it. I think I
just
asked
asking
you-
questions with Destiny, everybody.
The problem with you
That's
saying
not a fair
just asking
representation of
questions-
I mean, Mr. God just won. I mean, he just won. You've got to be fucking autistic to not realize what the issue here is.
Stephen did, and I think you like Stephen and know Stephen well enough that you should.
My internet just dropped for a second there. I think we're back. But my internet did just drop for a second there.
I'm at 1% here.
If Max wasn't charitable here, he would not have been able to express an imagined way that Stephen could question Max's
I'm
judgment
not sure what the issue is. I should probably try and diagnose it somehow.
or behavior publicly that Max would feel okay with. notsoErudite has done a good job of ignoring every indication of desired and attempted communication and resolution by Max, and instead focuses on invalidating Max's ability to feel hurt by Stephen's behavior. She is the worst faith actor in this call, and this isn't even her final form.
It would have worked exceptionally well because you say the most
I don't-
outlandish things, Max.
I don't think he's intentionally trying to interrogate me. I just think that the setup of the conversation. ended
No,
up that way.
you feel interrogated, which is wholly different than anything that actually happened. And the reality is, Max, that just because you
You're
feel
changing
some
the
way
subject.
about anything,
You're
no,
a
I'm gonna
dish
keep
gallop, and
talking.
you're changing the
I will mute
subject. I
you.
was saying something
I will keep
else.
talking. If you
But you just don't like one word I
telling
said.
people this is how I feel,
You
and
need
then
to chill.
projecting that world onto the landscape of everyone
Okay,
else,
we
the
need
reality is you will
another moderator. Somebody
always
get Brittany
be
in here.
wrong. You will always be wrong because the reality is that how you feel isn't always true. He didn't interrogate you. You felt interrogated. Those are
Okay,
different things.
great.
And then to put on
You
Stephen the
just say-
responsibility
just say that
of
you
how
disagree.
you feel is
Tyler.
precisely oppositional to the thing that you constantly
Okay.
advocate for, which is that people should have to carry each other emotionally. And you make Stephen do it for you all the time. And you've been making him do it, and you've been making me do it because you aren't willing to regulate. You aren't willing to manage yourself. All you want to do is feel how you feel and then project that onto other people. It's cowardly, it's pathetic, and you need to stop doing it, or you are going to continue damaging your relationships online. Probably not with Stephen because he doesn't fucking care about shit like this. But
Oh,
this
absolutely
is
he does.
is you're constantly projecting onto people, and Stephen's being like, yeah, you're fucking wrong, and you'll never move anywhere because you'll never believe anyone because you're so fucking convinced that all your feelings are true because they feel really big that you're never willing to hear anyone else. And that's the problem with this interpersonal dynamic is you're basically telling Stephen he has to engage like you do with other people, which is unfair. It basically tells Stephen that he doesn't get to be who he is in relationship with you. You won't accept that. He
You
has
know
to be the ideal version that you have painted for what you would like. Ideally, what precisely you would do. And that's a
Oh.
shitty thing to do to your friends. And you need to stop doing it to Stephen.
notsoErudite is telling Max his feelings are not valid. If you
Yeah, she's moderating, by the way. This is the moderator, by the way, guys. This is the person. I'm trying to sort out the disagreement here.
were less emotional right now, he would be able to see that, but he can't and he won't listen to reason. All of which turn out to be notsoErudite's problem as a biased.
Yo. Oh, it's 12 o'clock. Thank you for the refreshing memberships. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Moderator.
You need to stop doing it to Stephen.
I think that your dual role in this conversation is causing problems. Are you the moderator or are you doing something else?
I mean, spitting. Literally just spitting. I mean, what she's trying to do is try to get Mr. Go gone. She doesn't like him. Wants to secure a place in the orbit. But, you know.
I think I became the moderator.
Okay.
She's girl bossing.
Yeah, I feel like if you want the
So
power
even Destiny could kind of see it, I think. Even Destiny can see what's going on here.
or to ask questions and stop us from interrupting each other and stuff, I feel like you should not.
I don't need any recommendations from you about how I should or should not engage in this conversation. I feel completely comfortable with it, and if it isn't
Absolutely
good, I'll
insane.
talk to people that I respect about it.
Okay.
Man, there's a lot of vitriol in this room right now, going in all directions. Well, none is coming from me actually because I'm chill. You,
Of course, yes.
You guys are about
Yes.
something else. Notice how I say that I'm chill, even though I'm not, but then it like puts it in the viewer's mind that I am, and now you.
I did notice that. Thank you
Like
for pointing it out.
saying I'm chill, right? Yeah.
Thank you for pointing it out. Yeah. So
notsoErudite emotionally responds to Max's reasonable request for unbiased moderation by refusing to consider his concerns or change her behavior. It isn't until Stephen indirectly criticizes notsoErudite by mocking her failed attempt to present herself as emotionally regulated and in control that she decides to take a step back. If notsoErudite was present and putting in a genuine effort to neutrally
She's so she's just such a fucking skinwalker, dude. Actual cryptid. They need to log this one, bro. SCP wiki this shit. Fucking insane. Just, what does Destiny want me to do? What does Destiny want me to do? Wretched behavior.
Max and Steven's interpersonal conflict, she would have been able to understand from Max's expressed feelings how hurtful something like indirectly being mocked for your failure or vulnerability could be coming from a friend without having to experience it herself from Steven in this debate. In this conversation, notsoErudite was a poor listener, an obfuscator, an ineffective mediator, and entirely too aggressive. At Max's first expressed concern that notsoErudite was moderating one-sidedly, notsoErudite put her own desire above that of being a just moderator. Like a fraud, she declared herself neutral, while behaving as anything but.
So, just to be clear, a person who informs on an organization engaged in illicit activity is technically a whistleblower.
No,
by
that's a
definition.
reporter. That would be like saying Glenn Greenwald is a whistleblower because he reported on Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden's a whistleblower.
Edward Snowden is a whistleblower, exactly. But
Wait, hold on. You guys I don't know how you guys are all missing the critical definition. So a whistleblower is usually somebody that is part of the organization that they're informing on. That's what a whistleblower is. So, for instance, Alex Jones is connected to people that are ostensibly whistleblowers, where they don't exist, I'm not sure. But like the whistleblower is a person that comes from an organization and then they report about that organization, essentially. That's what whistleblower.
On this political episode of Destiny's Keep or Kick game show, co-hosted by Karantos, notsoErudite beats out the other 6 political streamers despite to this day still not understanding what a whistleblower is. Prior to this panel, a former Air Force intelligence officer testified before a House Oversight Subcommittee that the United States is concealing a program for multiple decades that retrieves and studies UAPs, once known as UFOs. Not much is controversial or interesting about this news beyond the idea of aliens existing. Even though Hollywood has already romanticized the idea of aliens in our minds for decades, I think if people discovered aliens were living among us, it would give us a lot more answers than it would questions. It could explain who is still living in Canada, for example. Despite how dead this topic is, somehow the panel found something to fight over. Let's rewind a bit and see how things escalated to here.
This is so deranged. A whistleblower. This is a whistleblower about the military complex, which both sides of the party, to some degree, would have relationships with, and would also want to be protecting to some degree, according to your conspiracy theory. So the idea that like this whistleblower is cool and based to lefties because there's like some weird political dunk. The reason why people think it's cool is because we're talking about fucking aliens, and it's exciting that maybe after the invention of AI, maybe we've got aliens too. That's why.
Did you listen to what he said? He said it's talking about whistleblowers. He wasn't just saying aliens. He was saying the idea of whistleblowers in general. He's glad that that's being brought up.
Rob, the whistleblowers that
keep it up.
So
the whistleblowers that go ahead, Erudite. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say there's a really big difference between some of the whistleblowers that lefties roll their eye at. And in fairness, I think lefties roll their eyes at too many whistleblowers on the right that they shouldn't have, right? Like Epstein was real, and we gotta fucking deal with that, right? We have to think about that. And he probably
there's whistleblowers that the left champions, like Snowden.
Yes, there are, right?
Who's the Epstein whistleblower?
Just tends to be like we tend to like whistleblowers that have lots of credentials behind their name, which this guy does, right? He's very high up, so he seems more reputable. Versus like if there's whistleblowers that happen to be like they live in their parents' basement and they're crazy and they've like been selling snake oil for 15 years, and now they're talking about how like Hunter Biden's dick is actually personally responsible for the Russian invasion of Ukraine because Russia didn't really want Hunter Biden's dick. That's gonna be an issue, right?
Which one was that? Was that Shipley at the IRS, or was that Ziegler? You know, the gay Democrat. Which one was that?
I think it was the arms dealer that's on the run. She's probably talking about the arms dealer that's on the run right now.
The business contact of Hunter Biden. That guy.
Okay. For the autism, the Hunter Biden dick joke was a joke. I don't actually think Hunter Biden's dick is personally responsible for the war in Russia. Nor do I think anyone's saying that. Nor do I think anyone's saying that.
Don't explain your joke. It makes it less funny. It wasn't that funny in the first place.
Try not to autistically fight.
Rob Noel just absolutely nailing, bro. What the fuck?
With the joke afterwards.
No, what I was fighting with was the straw manning of like, well, we like whistleblowers that are credentialed. My question to you is,
I didn't say that. I just didn't say that.
You literally did. You said whistleblowers that have heavy credentials, like this alien guy, we like him, but people that live in their mom's basement and dick joke. And I was asking you, can you name me the whistleblower that's like that?
Good on Rob Noor for being able to recall 1 minute back in the discussion. Let's rewind though and listen back just to make sure.
Be like we tend to like whistleblowers that have lots of credentials behind their name, which this guy does, right? He's very high up, so he seems more reputable. Versus like if there's whistleblowers that happen to be like they live in their parents' basement and they're crazy and they've like been selling snake oil for 15 years, and now they're talking about how like Hunter Biden's dick is actually personally responsible.
That wouldn't be a whistleblower. Like just being. That wouldn't be a whistleblower, would it? Haven't you got to be someone like in the organization or whatever that you're whistleblowing on? Isn't that what? Am I crazy? Am I retarded?
For the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, I don't know why notsoErudite said this. It doesn't exactly make sense, the image of an unemployed whistleblower or a scam artist whistleblower, unless the scammer is out.
Bitch is just yapping.
Surely notsoErudite made a mistake. It happens to the best of us. There are a couple solid progressive political content creators on the panel, so I'm sure one of them will help or bail her out.
You literally did. You said whistleblowers that have heavy credentials, like this alien guy, we like him, but people that live in their mom's basement and dick joke. And I was asking you, can you name me the whistleblower that's like that? Name me the whistleblower that you think is uncredentialed. That's what I was getting to.
To be honest, I'm not super in on all of your right-wing whistleblowers, so I'm sure that among the
all of your right-wing whistleblowers. What?
You're going to list.
Oh, I am.
Give me the left-wing whistleblower. Go ahead. Name me the one you're referring. You're clearly referring to some whistleblowers are just uncredible. I'm just asking you for an example. Give me an example.
Are we talking about Gall Luft, the guy
Alex
who's
Jones is a much less credible whistleblower. Yes, he is.
How's he a whistleblower?
Okay, never mind. I'm Really Important was about to bail notsoErudite out, But instead, she names Alex Jones, who is neither living in his parents' basement or a whistleblower.
Okay, he's a whistleblower in the fact that he is like most dominant for spreading conspiracy theories and talking about them. In fact, he was charged for spreading the conspiracy
What
theory.
a fucking idiot, dude. No way did she... You're saying she doubled down on this recently? No way.
Sandy Hook. And I would say in general, even though he was
Come
right
on.
about Epstein, and it's a little weird to think about Alex Jones being right about some of these things, he's also been really fucking wrong about a lot of things that he's been whistleblowing on, like the Sandy Hook case that's getting
I don't think that's a whistleblower.
With the word whistleblower
Why
here.
would Alex Jones be a whistleblower? He's just a conspiracy theorist. What are you talking about?
Okay.
Whistleblowers are
No,
specific.
what do you mean? What is like? How's Alex Jones a
Wait, hold
whistleblower?
on, Rob. You're like, argue your point. How is Alex Jones a whistleblower? Go ahead.
Okay, here, I'll give you an example of a basement dwelling instead, so we can
Yes,
get
I'm
off.
looking
Here we go.
The Discord leaker in the Air Force was literally a basement dweller. It's just some random.
Okay, cool. But how is Alex Jones a whistleblower?
Okay.
Even Erin's telling on her. Oh no.
Alex Jones claimed tons of his info came from inside sources.
That doesn't make him a
That's not a whistleblower. That just makes he's a conspiracy theorist. That means he asserted something without evidence. That's cool. Like,
Holy
but
shit.
why would he be a
Sources-
whistleblower?
according to him, his sources came from inside the government. I'm sorry.
Why would you take Alex Jones at his word?
Why? Okay. First of all, Aaron, keep up. I'm not taking him at his word. I think he's a
Aaron,
whistleblower in the
keep
fact that he's
up.
making up conspiracy theories.
What a fucking cunt, dude.
And he tries to portray
Okay,
himself
that's,
as a
no, exactly.
whistleblower.
He's
does
making
both
up
of these-
conspiracy theories. He doesn't. You don't need to call him a whistleblower. You can just get rid of that part.
Okay, we're doing word games. Do you agree that Alex Jones is a credible source of information from inside the government? Aaron, do you think that Alex Jones is a good source?
No.
Do you think that he's popularized lots of inside source conspiracies from within the government on his show?
I'm going to answer yes all these questions and still won't make him a whistleblower. What has he blown the whistle on?
Right, what you're describing, Erudite's a reporter. Right, reporters listen to whistleblowers and then say someone from inside the government. That might be a whistleblower. Told me.
I'm going to talk about. I'm going to broaden it to the fact that you know what. Lefties in general don't listen to anyone who popularizes ideas that spread all over. So, just to be clear, a person who informs on an organization engaged in illicit activity is technically a whistleblower.
No,
by
that's
the
a
definition.
reporter. That would be like saying Glenn Greenwald is a whistleblower because he reported on Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden's a whistleblower.
Edward Snowden is a whistleblower, exactly. But
Wait,
that
hold
wouldn't
on.
make
You guys
any
I don't know how you guys
report
are all missing the critical difference. So a whistleblower is usually somebody that is part of the organization that they're informing on. That's what a whistleblower is. So,
Yeah.
for instance,
Right.
Alex Jones is connected to people that are ostensibly whistleblowers, where they don't exist, I'm not sure. But like the whistleblower is a person that comes from an organization and then they report about that organization, essentially. That's what a whistleblower.
Not only is Alex Jones not a whistleblower, he also isn't who anyone should credit for breaking the sex trafficking story surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. According to Reddit historians, despite Alex Jones's claims of discussing Epstein since 2008, the furthest back he can be cited mentioning Epstein was January 2nd, 2015, where Jones misspoke Epstein's name while reading a story in the news stating the U.S. District Court in Southern Florida ordered to strike rape accusations made against Britain's Prince Andrew from court records. There are several investigative journalists and police officers regarded as contributing to unraveling the truth
Yeah, now Destiny said it, so she accepted it now. Now it's true. Now
around
it's true.
Epstein, none of which are named Alex Jones. Chaeiry and Rob Noor are correct here. Alex Jones, even if he was reporting on information given to him from government employees, would still not be regarded as a whistleblower. He would be someone reporting on information released from a whistleblower. There is no broader definition Erudite can defer to in order to save face and avoid admitting she doesn't know what she is talking about. Everyone on the panel except for notsoErudite understands this. Yet, for some reason, Destiny implies all of the panel is missing the part where a whistleblower is someone from within the organization they are informing on. It's just Erudite, Stephen. But maybe if it comes gently from you, without singling her out, she'll be more receptive to it. I see what we're doing.
And there are legal protections for
It is kind of gross how Destiny tries to, just shepherd her into the right spot and she's being like a total fucking retard instead of just straight up saying, you're a retarded smug cunt.
that legal definition of if you're in the FBI and blow the whistle. Nonetheless, let me white knight and save Erudite and go
You
over.
don't need to. Actually, you don't need to. I'm going to use the word. I'm going to use the word. Hold on. I'm going to bypass the autism. I'm going to use the word blah 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 to reference people who popularize ideas. That
You don't have to do that. You just don't have to call Alex Jones a whistleblower.
I don't care. I don't care about your autism.
Take it.
I'm going to use the word blah 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 blah.
Just concede on it. Just concede on that point. He's not a whistleblower.
I literally am. I don't care.
Take the L, you lost that argument. No big deal. It's not.
Just spurging like fucking bro.
Big in the grand scheme of things.
Hold on. Yes. Hold on.
Okay, keep digging the hole. I'm cool with it.
Hold on. He's not a whistleblower. Can we go back to the actual point
Yes,
of the
that's what we were
conversation?
trying to do. Thank you for admitting that after 5 minutes wasting our time.
It's starting to seem like the heated debate isn't really the cause of rigidity for notsoErudite, because there were several moments at which she could have backed off, either by letting I'm really important respond to Rob initially, after he had mentioned several times that he knew of all of the whistleblowers. She could have allowed Chaeiry to correct her, understanding that they are both progressives if being corrected by Rob is less palatable, or she could have taken Destiny's helping hand at his interjection to declare everyone to be wrong. notsoErudite was not looking for a way out. Despite everyone on the panel trying to help or trying to correct her, she instead decided to talk down to everyone in a child's voice, declaring blah blah blee blah to be the resolution to the conflict of what is a whistleblower. She reluctantly concedes when no one on the panel lets up, but unfortunately, as of a few weeks ago on JStock's panel, notsoErudite very smugly doubles down, insisting she was correct and even wishing she'd not conceded.
recalling some things I've thought in the past.
no.
It wasn't that I thought you were better than people, but sometimes when I criticize you, like one of the things that really frustrated me sometimes when I'd watch you is you would be wrong about something and you wouldn't move past it, like in a debate. And the one that comes to mind is the kick or keep with the whistleblower comment, where
Hey, but I was right. Holy shit, I looked it up backward.
Oh my god, I was right. Oh, you fucking idiot, you stupid cunt.
Literally fucking right. I'm so mad. Holy shit.
So what was the argument again? Because we don't have to fight about this. It's going to derail.
It's been a long time. I can't remember all the details.
No, Jay still should have fucking knelt on her.
Maybe about Alex Jones. I know Alex Jones came up. I don't know if he was the start of it.
Yeah, I think you were saying that Alex Jones was a whistleblower.
Yeah. And then everyone got like really intense about like what a whistleblower is. But then I looked up the definition after like with my chat and I was like, oh wait. It doesn't have to just be an employee. Like Edward Snowden is a whistleblower. Like it can be an internal, but it can also be like WikiLeaks people are often also considered whistleblowers, even though they're not like an internal worker. I don't know.
Correct. You do not know. That is literally the only correct thing you've said. A whistleblower is a person who exposes misconduct occurring within their organization. WikiLeaks is not a person, so it is not a whistleblower. The legal protections sought out by WikiLeaks are similar to the protections online publishers like Instagram, Facebook, and X have through Section 230. If whistleblowers want the ability to self-publish digitally, their protections under the law have to be considered applicable to WikiLeaks. As for Edward Snowden, I don't know why notsoErudite mentions him. Snowden was a contract government employee. He is definitionally considered a whistleblower, but specific to US laws does not qualify for whistleblower protections. notsoErudite joined to talk about how she handles criticism, and she has once again proved that she just simply doesn't. 5 months have passed and she still believes Alex Jones is a whistleblower, and imagines her biggest issue has to do with what fights she takes, and the idea that she is just wrong, I don't think has occurred to her. Not even when her mistake is the topic of conversation.
You can never be wrong.
I don't know.
Ever.
It's really pedantic. It's really pedantic.
All right. That's
I would agree I
fine.
can get super pedantic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can get super pedantic about stuff.
Yeah, it was stuff like that, I think. I can't think of another one off the top of my head. So
yeah, it's like figuring out which bullets you need to like. I think a big issue for me in debate, for example, is learning which battles to have. Like whistleblower isn't the battle I need to have. That's stupid. Like just be like, okay, well, whatever we want to call it, and move on with my life, rather than being like, no, it is this thing. So yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you don't want to debate, is what I'm hearing. Like, because in my mind, debate is always going to be something.
Yeah, I don't know if you're actually just trolling, because you are, your username is not a troll, but often an employee, but always part of an organization. Yeah, often employee, but always part of the organization.
Okay, that's your mind. In my mind, debate is a different thing. See, it's a debate right now, and I'm trying to understand your.
Alex Jones
I'm going to use the word blah 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 to mean what you're talking about. So when I say debate, I mean trying to convince each other of an idea. And when I say blah 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 blah, I mean
you're condescending
having
my definition.
I'm not condescending. I'm saying
well, blah 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 sounds a lot like blah 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 to me. Agree to disagree. All right, next part of the topic. And I'm not trying to rush you or invalidate you.
I don't know what we're disagreeing on.
Oh.
You said vulnerability and all this stuff is like a part of your thing. If you'd like to stop talking, that's fine.
It's not that I want to stop talking. I'm just fucking confused, dude.
I'm trying to explain it. If you keep yelling at me,
I'm not. Oh, and now okay. You know what? I promised myself I would set a clear boundary. I do not.
If this conversation was so fucking weird, what was even going on in this shit? Like, they both just started crying, didn't they?
Not like the way you're painting me right now. You can think about me what you wish. I feel like this conversation is no longer productive. It's unsafe and it's unhealthy. So I think it's not. I think it's
feels like. I'm being honest. Feels like everything
that's
backfiring, and I don't know why. I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're valid to feel that way.
I was really hoping not. Fuck. From the very beginning, I was like, oh, she feels a little bit kind of like Max Lavloony, but I hope not. I'm just gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm so mad. Those types like piss me off.
Why was she?
Why do you hate me so much? Why do you hate me so much?
Well, there's something about your personality that is deeply unsettling because I think that you are never you. I think that you are always someone else, and it's very hard to read. And that, I mean, that directly is at odds with my trauma that is constantly trying to sift through everyone to make sure that I'm safe.
So I think the reason you don't like me is that you can't see me very well?
Well, no, I don't think that you're a very genuine person. No, I don't think that you're a genuine person, so you scare me.
Laugh once either drop some slurs, then she might believe you're
If I drop like 3 N-words, would that do it for you?
No, you're like uncanny valley of people to me.
Okay, interesting.
Are you talking about Kyle or Chaeiry? I don't think they'll come on at the same time. Or I don't think Erudite will. Erudite's already said she doesn't want to talk about this publicly.
Yeah.
I don't even think Erudite would come on to talk about it publicly, even if Chaeiry was not there.
No. I think I have no idea if this is true. I have asked her little to nothing because I am horrible at keeping secrets.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Wolfgang. I literally asked her directly and she said no. Sorry,
Yeah, well,
when I said I think she wouldn't come on, I meant no, she won't come on. She's literally told me she won't come on.
Well, but not just that too. I'm pretty sure that she has an interest. I don't know. This has not been told to me. It's just knowing Kyla, the little that I know, is that she probably would like to have an interest on preserving or salvaging however little of this bridge is left, even if it's like a smidge. And I'm sure that her coming on and talking about it would absolutely douse it, just because of how volatile the situation is.
I think she knows that Chaeiry's had a very hard few months, and I don't think she wants to like add on to a potential dog pile or like what an online drama could mean for Chaeiry.
Yeah, if I made that sound like Kyla didn't want to come on because she like was scared or something, it was literally she was like, I don't think this is healthy and I don't want to do this publicly.
Sure.
Which is completely reasonable.
It is reasonable, but in its own, it is also condescending. Which
well,
you know,
she didn't. Sorry,
so.
She did not say that to anyone else. She said that to me personally, and probably wouldn't have wanted it even said here. So I might have fucked up by even saying that. I just meant she was concerned.
Disgusting.
She was concerned that this could work out badly. I don't even think like I told her like yeah, fuck.
Like in fact, like one of the things Nick and I worked on in our relationship is things like shielding him from like my feelings. Like if I'm getting like annoyed at him for like not very good reasons, we've like talked about like how it's valuable sometimes to be like not showing people you're annoyed if you recognize it's like not the best reason to be annoyed and stuff. So when people are saying like I'm fake, it makes me wonder if they're just being like the fact that I'm trying to be kind. Like I guess I have a hard time like mapping onto like what it specifically would be, other than to be honest.
She's just too nice, guys. She's too nice. Well, apparently there's gonna be a next part, and the next one is gonna be a total bridge burning. So, we'll, I look forward to that. I'll link it. I want to support Chaeiry, I guess. Very based. I mean, it's very Will-and-ish channel-esque. Way too many long clips and establishing things that are just obvious. Like, you don't need to sit there and talk about what cliffhanger is. That's very fucking unnecessary. But, other than that, pretty good.